Welcome to A2Council Update, a recap of the Ann Arbor City Council meeting on March 3, 2025. This meeting included comments and discussion about contracting for water main and road work at Wallingford and Harding, rezoning land to provide park amenities to an affordable housing community, changing city process for alterations to non-conforming structures, approving a feasibility study and other planning for municipal public power, and putting questions on the August 2025 ballot to sell 319 South 5th to the Ann Arbor District Library. This is the voting chart for the council meeting on March 3, 2025. Councilmember Erica Briggs from Ward 5 was absent. This was her 9th absence since taking office in November 2020. There were 2 split votes. Ward 5 Representative Cornell was the lone vote in opposition to public engagement related to work at Wallingford and Harding. A feasibility study for municipal power was defeated, with 5 members voting against. All other votes were unanimous. You can find this voting chart and more information about this meeting at A2Council.com. Like and subscribe if you would like to see more content like this. The meeting included a presentation from Mohammed Othman, Vice Chair of the Independent Community Police Oversight Commission, or ICPOC.
The commissioners are working on the 2024 annual report. The Outreach Committee subcommittee is working on Social Justice Symposium community event. It's going to be May 22nd. Location, Millet's Creek District Library branch. Chief Anderson has set up a system by which information managers can meet every other month in the department offices to review unredacted police reports and body-worn camera videos.
After introductory remarks, public comments, and staff explanations, Council discussed agenda items for about 45 minutes. 29 people signed up in advance to offer public comments. 28 people signed up to speak about topics on the agenda. The consent agenda this week included 10 items and expenditures of over $8 million. 1 item was pulled for discussion. A $4.3 million contract will fund several utility-related projects at different neighborhood locations. One project is water main and sanitary sewer replacements at Harding and Morton. As part of that project, the city would repave Harding and narrow the intersection where it dead ends into Wallingford. City staff have proposed 2 potential designs. Both would extend curbs into the street. They differ in where sidewalks would be located. A mayoral appointee on the city's Transportation Commission weighed in during public comment.
It's public infrastructure, not private. So when it's the right thing to do for safety, for everybody involved to narrow it, we should do it regardless of who lives nearby.
Neighborhood residents also spoke.
The narrowing of the Wallingford-Harding intersection is opposed by 171 residents and 111 households, including every home on Wallingford. 171 residents, who are mainly the people who will supposedly benefit from the change, oppose it.
Both of our kids learn to ride their bikes around the neighborhood, and they regularly walk to and from Burns Park and ride their bikes with friends. We have never had any concerns about our children or their friends walking through the Wallingford-Harding intersection. I ask that you help prioritize the true pedestrian safety concerns of our neighborhood to keep it safe for our kids and other pedestrians.
We have multiple reasons for wanting to see something else happen at this intersection. And we are also eager to engage in actual collaboration to make this possible. So please don't approve of the contract as it is.
Ahead of council discussion, city staff offered explanation.
Staff evaluated this intersection for safety improvements solely because of the utility project on Harding that will need to remove pavement in the intersection anyway. The primary reasons the staff felt changes were needed here were a lack of ADA compliance, the unusually long distance required for pedestrians to cross Harding, the large radius curves that do not encourage traffic to slow down when turning.
Councilmember Redina proposed an amendment to the resolution, directing staff to engage and collaborate with residents. He read from a prepared statement.
I will also note that both the tone and tenor of this conversation has gotten a bit out of hand. At times, staff has been met by some residents throughout this process in ways that I also find unacceptable.
I agree that, the tone and the tenor of conversations recently has not really met our standard of community engagement.
The amendment was approved, with only Councilmember Cornell voting against public engagement. The amended resolution was approved unanimously. After a brief introduction, Council unanimously approved rezoning land on Dexter Rd to create a park that will serve the residents of an affordable housing community. Council then considered an amendment to the Uniform Development Code that will make it easier to alter non-conforming structures. Non-conforming structures do not meet current zoning district guidelines because they existed prior to the creation of those districts. Currently, when the owner of a non-conforming structure wants to make alterations, adding floor area, dwelling units, or increasing exterior dimensions, they must petition for approval from the Zoning Board of Appeals, or ZBA. A typical ZBA petition comes from a landlord seeking to subdivide or expand to create more rental units. A ZBA review considers whether the alterations will have a detrimental effect on a neighboring property. Proposed amendments will eliminate that review for non-conforming residential properties under certain circumstances. Alterations will automatically be permitted when they do not increase the degree of nonconformity and they meet other standards. Council discussed the amendment for about 3 minutes.
And over the last 10 years, the ZBA has approved nearly all of them.
The ZBA was getting very frustrated at constantly approving them. You mentioned the kind of cost and staff time, but this also comes with a real cost to people who want to make these changes.
Council unanimously approved the amendments at first reading. At a future meeting, it will be the subject of a public hearing and final approval at second reading. Council then considered 2 agenda items related to the pursuit of a municipal power utility that would replace DTE, a feasibility study, and a resolution directing preliminary work to prepare a ballot question. Earlier in the evening, public commenters spoke to the issue.
I hope that you will help empower us to get the information we need to make intelligent decisions about municipalization.
20 to 50 years down the line, these problems are not just going to have magically disappeared.
I urge the City Council to get rid of DTE with all due haste.
Like many young people in Ann Arbor, I'm deeply worried about climate change. The only way we'll reach our climate goal is through municipalization. This feasibility study isn't just an expense, it's an investment. It'll pay for itself many times over. We can't let corporations and oligarchs dictate our future. We have to stand up and say enough is enough.
I would much rather see that money and staff time put towards the sustainable energy utility.
The whole point of the study is to find out how much it would cost. That's why we need more information.
Council members took turns reading prepared statements regarding the feasibility study. Council members Malik and Watson expressed support.
While it comes at a substantial price tag, I see this study as a short-term cost that could come with a long-term gain.
There's no question that there is much uncertainty ahead, and $1.7 million is a significant sum, but I'm more comfortable with it because of the way it has been budgeted for.
4 council members offered statements explaining their opposition to the study.
We can't pretend the Ann Arbor situation is comparable to cities that created their municipal utilities in the late 1800s and early 1900s. Those cities built their grids from the ground up. They didn't have to buy out an entrenched investor-owned monopoly that has every incentive to fight a takeover at every turn.
Instead of diverting resources to litigation, we should focus on strengthening the sustainable energy utility that voters just approved.
Council members Redina and Iyer offered qualified statements of support.
Last year, voters right here in Ann Arbor embraced a smaller scale muni through a sustainable energy utility. And while I too have questions about the financial feasibility of full-scale municipalization, this vote is about getting honest answers to those questions.
I just feel like I've supported this from the beginning. I recognize that it does have strong support in the community, particularly from a lot of constituents in my ward, and I need to keep my word.
The beginning that Councilmember Iyer references is 2021, when Council could have considered a resolution regarding an initial feasibility study for public power, one that the Energy Commission had been discussing for months. Mayor Taylor and a majority of Council did not allow it to be introduced, but instead allowed Councilmember Redina to offer a last-minute substitution.
The current DC1 is not being pulled. It is being proposed to be amended in its entirety.
I don't recall the last time an agenda item was not introduced by the sponsor. Councilmember Redina, Iyer, and the mayor effectively delayed discussion for several months so that a much smaller scale proposal could be announced, preserving the city's relationship with DTE. At the time, Councilmember Redina declared that this was preferable to full municipalization. This week, Mayor Taylor offered no comment about a second phase feasibility study for municipal public power. The feasibility study was defeated, with only 5 votes in support. Ahead of the meeting, Councilmember Briggs explained that she would have also voted against it. A resolution to prepare and plan for a ballot question regarding municipal public power was defeated unanimously. Council then considered 2 resolutions directing ballot questions that would be put to voters in August 2025. The first would direct the sale of the parcel at 319 South 5th to the Ann Arbor District Library. The second would repeal a charter amendment approved in November 2018. The 2018 charter amendment directed the city to retain ownership of this parcel and develop an urban park and civic commons. In 2018, Mayor Taylor argued that instead of a civic commons, the property should be sold for $10 million and the proceeds leveraged to fund affordable housing. The 2018 campaign in opposition to the charter amendment included dark mailers declaring that the loss of this $10 million would hurt children, cause streets to crumble, compromise public safety, and stifle investment in public transit. When that campaign failed and voters approved the charter amendment, Taylor complained that the city had lost $10 million. Last week, 7 days before council was scheduled to vote on it, the city issued a press release in which Mayor Taylor expressed excitement about selling the property for $1. This week, public commenters spoke to both ballot questions.
Partnering with the library will achieve many of the goals set out in the original proposal with a partner that has a long and successful track record of building and managing beautiful and functional public spaces.
The proposed caption says that the charter would be amended to allowing the City Council to sell its interest in the library lot to and only to the Ann Arbor District Library. Quote, for the purpose of building a mixed-use development that includes additional library services, housing, and programmable open public space. This language does not appear in the amendment itself. And it will not appear in the charter. Why is this being done? I think the answer is pretty clear. I think the council fears that if they just went for a straight repealer of the 2018 amendment, that wouldn't fly. And of course, we have council members and the city administrator saying, well, we're not really going to say what it's going to be until after the election. I think that's backwards.
I trust the library. They're well known to be the best public body, in the city.
The charter doesn't even require that we have a city hall, and certainly doesn't specify bounding streets. Section 1.4 of the charter robs future generations of a flexibility in a document whose lifetime is measured in centuries.
Live up to the values of diversity, equity, inclusion that we champion, regardless of whether or not people can vote in August. Turnout is always a fraction of what it is in November. That is a fact. Failure to do so would rightly be seen as an attempt to exclude certain voters, to limit democracy, to rig the system for a preferred outcome, no better than gerrymandering or Republicans. It doesn't matter if it changes the outcome. That's not the point. The point is, principles matter. The way we play the game matters. Democracy matters. I ask you to partially remedy the years of obstruction by enabling as many Ann Arborites as possible to decide whether it is time to alter Prop A's vision. Hold the vote in November.
We need at least 7,000 more housing units downtown, or roughly 100 additional units per block within a half-mile radius of our transit centers. The AEDL project helps create that density.
We have a housing shortage here in Ann Arbor. We also have an award-winning library that desperately needs a new downtown branch. And we have an underutilized parcel of city-owned land that could support a building that will allow us to address all of those problems.
The Ann Arbor District Library has demonstrated that they are able to propose and complete projects that are of benefit to all of Ann Arbor.
Council made statements for a little over 10 minutes.
The library lot is the roof of an underground parking structure. It was designed at the additional cost of many millions of dollars to support a 20-story building.
The ability to capture those taxes back into our budget, as we just talked about, the idea of what could we do to advance all of our initiatives that matter to the most vulnerable of our citizens is something that I think is important for us to pursue.
It is an area in our downtown that, save for the library, is a dead zone.
When the city, the library, affordable housing developers, and the community come together, we can create something that's more than just the sum of its parts.
So we really can no longer afford the opportunity costs of leaving a place downtown that is waiting, was created, was built, was outfitted for housing.
By friendly amendment, language was added to allow the transfer of more property, including 326 South Division, which runs east of 319 South 5th.
I did want to point folks to the memo that was attached to our agenda late in the day from the city administrator that talks about the kind of negotiation discussions so far with regard to this spot.
That memo, dated March 3rd, reiterates the plan to transfer the property for $1. It also includes explanation that negotiations were apparently completed at the end of February, prior to public discussion at City Council. The ballot proposal to authorize the sale of 319 South 5th and 326 South Division to the Ann Arbor District Library was approved unanimously in a voice vote. The second ballot proposal, repealing the 2018 Charter Amendment, was also approved unanimously. Council had to reconsider approval of the first ballot proposal because a roll call vote, rather than a voice vote, was required. Councilmember Ghazi Edwin missed votes because she had stepped out of the room. Both questions will appear on the August 2025 ballot. City Council went into closed session for 30 minutes. When they reconvened a little after 9:30, more public commenters spoke. They responded to the approved ballot questions.
When I saw these resolutions, my first feeling was betrayal. And I began working on this question of the commons in 2009. My education began in 2008. I should expect no more. This is about local politics and money. I've called this a totalitarian democracy. You got it all wrapped up.
26,752 voters passed Proposal A. That was with 53% of the vote. Contrary to often repeated statements, the 33,130 margin of votes was significant. In many cases, council members who were voted in a contested primary received fewer votes than this differential. I just want to say that regardless, we have always wanted to work with the library, and we're happy to see that the library is considering some open space.
The people of Ann Arbor need and deserve a modern downtown library.
The Ann Arbor District Library is one of our most cherished local institutions, and I can't imagine any project they would build here would not be wonderful.
They responded to the defeat of public power initiatives.
I strongly agree that it would have been deeply irresponsible to spend almost $2 million out of the general fund on a phase 2 municipalization study right now. It seems like a problem to spend almost $2 billion on a study if we haven't first secured a commitment from the community to follow through.
And they responded to an amendment directing public engagement for the project at Wallingford and Harding.
I fear that a bad precedent was reestablished this evening that will make future efforts towards safety, inclusion, and equity that much more difficult.
I think this decision sets a bad precedent.
The council meeting adjourned before 10 p.m. For more details about this meeting, visit A2Council.com.
Welcome to this week's A2Council Moment of Zen.
All in favor? All opposed? It is approved. The 10 council members present, thus satisfying the 7-vote requirement. Further discussion of DC4. All in favor? All opposed? Thank you. It has been. I've been told that we need roll call votes with respect to these two items. So. Let's do a roll call vote with, I've just called for a vote with respect to DC4, so let's take the roll call on DC4 and then we'll cycle on back.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Absent?
Yes.
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 It carries.
Considering procedurally how to bring back DC3. So is this a reconsideration?
Yes.
Discussion? All in favor? All opposed? With 9 council members present, all voting in the affirmative, the reconsideration passes. Now we remove DC3.
As we are reconsidering, this is already deemed amended, correct? We don't need to re-amend.
We should probably re-amend it.
Well, I believe that was done in so I think the non-roll call vote was of the motion as amended.
And so the amended motion has been has been brought on. Thank you. Thank you. Further discussion of DC3 as amended. Roll call vote.
Yes.
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 Absent? Yes.
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 Approved.
Motion carries.